In today's video, I'm going to be doing another player comparison. If you guys watch my channel consistently, you know I like to make these videos where I take two players in the NBA and compare them with an in-depth comparison to see who I think is better in the NBA right now. But today we got a bit of a different comparison video, as I'm going to be going through the comparison of Lamelo Ball versus Lonzo Ball and determining who I think is the best ball brother. While Lamelo is definitely on the better pace to be the better player probably of all time when their careers are all said and done, right now after his rookie season, it's already a really close debate who's better between him and his older brother Lonzo. So it's going to be an interesting video today to go through this comparison in depth. But before we start today's video, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Instagram account for this page. Make sure you guys do follow me on Instagram if you have Instagram at danieldelari.yt. It's really important that if you do want to follow the channel, you should follow me over here too, because I do post polls and stuff like that to determine which video I'm going to make in a certain day. For example, yesterday I put up a poll between should I do this video or a 2018 redraft. So if you want to be involved with kind of more of the community of my channel, make sure you follow me over there. And during the season 2, I may or may not be posting some extra content like some memes and highlights on my page sometimes, and giving you guys some extra analysis in my story and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you guys follow me over there. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So usually the way that I do these videos, I go through both of the players and determine their scoring ability against each other, their playmaking ability, and then their defense. So we're going to stick to that criteria today. Let's start with scoring and start with Lonzo Ball. This season was absolutely a career year for him, especially when it comes to scoring the basketball. He definitely improved his shooting ability a ton, and he's now been able to score around the rim more effectively as well, and his shot is just fixed now, and people really need to accept the fact that Lonzo Ball is a good and pretty good shooter right now, and has improved in this a lot, and when he's playing on the Bulls this year, is going to provide a lot of value for them with his shooting ability. We know that Lonzo had that weird looking form with his jump shot and really did not shoot well when he came into the league, but last season shot 38% from 3, or nearly 38% from 3, on 8.3 attempts per game, which is very high volume and very high efficiency, and also pretty much fixed those free throw struggles as well. As we know, Lonzo was also a horrible free throw shooter, almost shooting under 50% for some of those years when he was playing with the Lakers, but last year shot 78% from the line as well. And overall scoring wise, Lonzo last year put up about 14 and a half points per game, which is absolutely a career high for him. Not great overall efficiency, only shooting about 41.5% from the field, but like I mentioned, still 38% from 3 nearly, and about 78% from the line, so decent splits here for Lonzo. And overall this results in a 55% true shooting, which is slightly below average for the league right now. But you can see that Lonzo's scoring ability improved a ton this year. Now when we talk about Lamelo's scoring ability, he impressed me a ton this year, scoring the basketball, putting up almost 16 points per game, and doing this on very good efficiency for his playstyle. I mean, when he was coming into the league, he had historically bad three-point shooting percentages when he was playing overseas, and I expected this to be even worse in the NBA, and that he would almost be a liability shooting the 3-ball, but he absolutely proved me wrong and was a very effective scorer for the Hornets last season. He's very shifty, especially on the perimeter. He has great handles, is able to create his own shot a lot of the time, and does this on, like I said, pretty good shooting and pretty good efficiency for his play style. And overall last season, as I mentioned, he put up almost 16 points per game and did this on about 43.5% from the field, which is still under average but decent for his play style. 35% from 3 on about 5 attempts per game, which, like I said, is way better than I expected for Lamelo, and also about 76% from the free throw line. And overall this results in a 54% true shooting for Lamelo. Again, this is under average, and Lonzo's is slightly better with overall efficiency, but both of these guys really this year really did impress me when it comes to their scoring ability. Both of them shot the ball better than I expected. Both of them were overall more efficient than I expected, and it's a really close comparison here. I think a lot of people would say, just off of the eye test, that Lamelo is the much better scorer. I think it's a very, very close comparison. Based off of what I've watched and seen with the stats, I think Lamelo probably is the slightly better scorer here, but it is very close. Now let's talk about playmaking for both of these guys. They are very, very similar playmakers, and even before I say anything about stats and the eye tests and everything, I would say playmaking wise they're probably about equal. And we know that for both of these guys, playmaking is definitely the main strength of their game and really what they excel at. And we look at some stats starting with Lonzo. This year averaging about 6 assists per game, having a box creation of about 6 per game, which is how many open shots you create for your teammates per game, and a passer rating of about 8.5, which is also very impressive. And overall, when we watch Lonzo play, obviously he's amazing in transition. He has a very, very high offensive IQ. Amazing court vision, is always going to make that right pass. And when it comes to playmaking, he's good, but passing alone, he is definitely elite right now. And like I said, especially in transition, he can definitely throw some very good lobs up towards the rim. And overall is a great playmaker and does a good job of drawing attention, whether he's on the perimeter, driving towards the rim, has a very high offensive IQ, and not only makes the right pass all the time, but knows when to make the right pass as well. We talk about Lamelo, and it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's just in the blood of the Ball family to have a high offensive IQ and be a very good playmaker. We look at Lamelo and some of his stats from the season playmaking wise, also putting up around 6 assists per game, with a box creation of about 8 per game and a passer rating of about 8 as well. And we watch Lamelo play, kind of the same thing. I mean, I already mentioned kind of his shifty handles and how he's able to create a lot of space that way, and makes the right pass a lot of the time. Very good in transition, throws a lot of good lobs, just like I talked about with Lonzo. And overall, if you guys watch Lonzo and Lamelo play equally, you would probably come to the same conclusion that I am, that I think they're about equal playmakers. So now we gotta talk about defense, and I think this is where the conversation becomes a little bit more interesting, because I think that Lonzo Ball is the clearly better defender here. When we talk about Lonzo's defense, he's definitely an above average defender. He's a very good on-ball defender. He does a great job of staying in front of his defender, not being beat off the dribble. He has good hands, good instincts on that end of the floor, and does a really good job contesting three-point shots as well, whether he's playing on-ball defending and contesting shot, or playing off-ball and leaping out to the perimeter to contest a 3. He's not a fantastic interior defender, but he is 6'6", and when he's defending in the post, it can be tougher to score against him than it is against other guards. He can do a decent job down there as well, and he definitely provides a lot of value for his team defensively. And there's a lot of conversations in the NBA right now about how guards really don't have that much defensive impact because they're not interior defenders, which I completely agree with, but they still do have impact towards their team. And when you're a defender like Lonzo Ball, who can defend in the post effectively and be one of the best perimeter defenders on his team, and when he's with the Chicago Bulls this season will probably be the very best defensive perimeter defender on his team, you can have a lot of impact to your team if you're guarding the other team's best player out there on the perimeter, and especially leaping out contesting threes. That can be very valuable to a team's defense because of how much of a three-point shooting league it is right now. So Lonzo, in my opinion, is a very good defender, but when we look at Lamelo, he's probably a little bit of an under-average defender. He can get beat off the dribble a few times. He's not a very good interior defender, and I think he will start to get better. As he matures in the league more, I think he'll develop a little bit more defense, but right now I think he's an under-average defender for sure. And if you guys watch my channel, and specifically one of the most recent videos I made where I gave you guys my top 20 defenders list, be sure to check that one out as well. In this video, I said that I'm not going to use any stats at all because I don't like defensive stats. There is one stat though that I do like to use sometimes, and that's defensive field goal percentage, what you hold opponents to when you're guarding them. And this can sometimes be flawed too at different positions, but because Lamelo and Lonzo are both, they have similar height and both play the point guard position, this is a pretty accurate stat to use here. And when we look at it, Lamelo Ball has a pretty poor defensive field goal percentage of about 50%, which especially at the point guard position when you're mostly defending the perimeter where it's harder to score, this is a pretty poor defensive field goal percentage. When we look at Lonzo Ball, he has a defended field goal percentage of about 44.5%, which is definitely above average for the point guard position. So when we look at the defensive gap here, it's pretty clear that Lonzo Ball is the better defender. And even though defense doesn't matter that much for guards, a guy like Lonzo definitely has quite a little bit of impact on that end of the floor, and defense still definitely does have to factor in to this conversation conversation and to this debate. So it's time for my final decision, who I think is the best ball brother between Lonzo and Lamelo right now. And after Lamelo's rookie season, he had a very impressive season, but I'm actually still going to go with Lonzo Ball. This might come across as a hot take, but after everything that we've gone through in today's video, factoring in everything I've seen with these players on the court and factoring in lots of stats, Lamelo is the slightly better offensive player in my opinion, but Lonzo is the much better defensive player, and even though offense is more important for their position, the gap defensively is too big for me to ignore, and I'm gonna have to give a very slight edge in this debate to the older brother right now in Lonzo Ball. After the 2020 and 2021 season, right now I'm gonna go with Lonzo in this debate. After the 2022 season, we'll probably look back at this and see that Lamelo is now the clearly better player if he takes another leap offensively this season, especially with his scoring ability. But right now, after the 2020 and 2021 season, in this debate, I'm going to go with Lonzo Ball just slightly as still the best ball brother in the NBA. So there you have it. That is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This was definitely a very interesting comparison video to make. So make sure you guys comment down below your thoughts on today's video and who you think is better right now between Lonzo and Lamelo. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.